So Eric, if you can join me, that's gonna be good because I don't know how to. Yeah, you requested. Yes. So, so you have to connect
Hello
right
there.
now. Hey man,
How's
what's up?
how's it going? Yeah,
How's it going? So, how are you doing?
all good. Yeah, stuck inside, I
Good. So
guess. Need a haircut, but otherwise life is okay, I guess.
that's gonna be fine. So we have a lots of plenty of people who joined us today. So almost 96 right now. So we can wait for a minute to have more audiences today.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's going to be definitely. So Erik Almas joined us. Hi. Definitely Erik doesn't know me. I mean Erik Almas, but I'm one of his fans. So I'm gonna just say hi. So I'm giving you the platform so you can say hi to anyone that you want to.
Yeah. So hi everyone. It's nice to see you here. I guess everyone is in the same situation in the whole world now, which is quite strange one.
Yeah, definitely. So how's Prague? So how is Prague today? So I mean these
Well,
days.
yeah, no, Prague is nice. Spring is coming. It's warm outside, but we have quite strict rules here. Most places are closed at the moment. It's mostly grocery stores and pharmacies open at the
Okay.
moment, and you need to wear a
So
face
are
mask
you doing the
outside.
social distance? So you don't you are you doing the social distancing? So these
Yeah,
days.
yeah, yeah. So right
Okay.
now, I guess I started playing computer games a bit more, and that's my way of hanging out with my friends
So
now.
it's gonna be quite vice versa here in New York. So it's locked down totally. So the city, I'm sorry to say that, but it's kind of in a sad mood.
Yeah,
And yeah, everybody, but everyone stay try to be positive. So keep motivated. So people try to be motivated to move forward because this is a situation that we didn't expect all around the world.
yeah.
And so for all the people, we have different audiences today from different parts of the world. So Asia, Middle East, Europe,
Mm.
US, and your fans, my audiences. And so I'm going to turn off the comments, guys, because we don't want to interrupt our conversation. Then at the end of 10 minutes, when we are in the end of our talk, so I'm going to turn on the comments, and I already have some questions that I'm going to ask you about the way you're working and your work in progress. So the title, I mean, let me turn off. And one other thing, so the people can see a small question mark here at the bottom of their cell phones. You can write your questions over there. So while I'm going to turn off the comments, you still can ask your questions if you have. Yes, I'm going to save it and I'm going to keep it for 24 hours as so Instagram keep all the stories and lives for 24 hours. So let me turn off the comments and
Perfect.
let's start our conversation. So for those of the people who doesn't know Erik, which I really doubt about that. So everybody know you. You're very famous. So Erik is a Swedish-born photographer, artist. He is a Hasselblad ambassador and ISO, if I'm not wrong.
Yep.
Ambassador for worked for many years, and he's a quite well-known and renowned photographer. So, and Erik, I'm so happy that you accepted my invitation for today live for people all around the world. So let's get started. So my first question, which I think that it is going to be the everybody's question. How did you start?
Yeah, I guess I've always been a person that likes to create things. And I think when I was a kid, I played a lot with Lego, like building things. I like drawing and just expressing myself with like creating things in different ways, whether that would be drawing or if it would be, I mean, to build something, for example.
Okay.
And there was on my 15th birthday, I got my first digital camera as a birthday gift. And that's I'm approaching my 35th birthday now in a couple of
Oh,
days, so
congrats,
it's
man.
almost 20
Yes.
years
So it's
celebration,
so
I
you're
guess.
talking about 20 years ago.
Yeah, basically, I mean, it was a very simple digital camera back then, and but what this enabled me was for the first time to see that having a camera where you can put the photographs on the computer and then try to draw or like modify them in different ways. That was so to me it was pretty much I discovered photography at the same time that I discovered photo manipulation in a way. So to me it's always been a very natural way of creating.
Got it.
To almost see it some.
Erik,
Yeah.
I know, so I think most of the people know about that you are using only Photoshop on your creating stuff. Just if I want to be very specific, so it's going to be, so it is photography and Photoshop. So how do you come up with your ideas? I mean, people ask me this type of question to ask you. So how do you come up with ideas? And before you answer this question, so let me get back a little bit. So you started around when you were 15, it's 2000, 1999, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, something around beginning of 2000s.
And you jumped into the digital world. So what was your, I mean, in university, did you study art, or you just switched from the different position to the art world?
No, I had, I mean, in a way, I had two big interests when I was growing up, and that was drawing and playing with computers. And I guess when I got this digital camera, it was somehow the first time that I realized that I could combine these two interests. But when it came to studying at university, I didn't really think that art would be something that would lead to a job, I guess, in a way. So, so I decided to study computer engineering instead, or computer science. So, and it was sometime I started studying this 2005 and I finished in 2010. And it was during this time that I started doing these projects on a little bit more serious level and more the kind of work that you see on my website today. So when I was done with my studies, I pretty much just realized that maybe actually I should be a photographer.
So you were in the middle of the university that you thought that it's so when you finish university, it's not going to be your job. So
no, and I didn't know if I could make it like a living. I mean, like it was a hobby that I really enjoyed. But when I finished university, I thought, okay, maybe I give it a year and just try it out, and maybe it will work out. So even then, I didn't really know.
So
but I think
one question, Erik. So there's this kind of nonsense conversation all the time between the old generations and the new generations of film photography and digital photography. So my question is not about the difference of these two, but my question is, what was your difficulties? What was your obstacles? So in terms of when you showed your works to the world, when you promote yourself on those first days, because I'm going to talk about about the art of rejection. So how it's definitely you had some rejections in your career. So all of us have, even now. So how did you come up with this? I mean, what was your obstacles? What was the reaction of the people, the artists, the city that you were living in Sweden? And how did you get involved with this type of obstacles?
No, I mean, there has always been, of course, I mean, people that don't think that this is photography. And of course, it's not in its pure sense, I guess. I mean, but I've never been hiding that I'm manipulating photographs to create these images. And I mean, my biggest challenges have always been to try to push myself and try to come up with ideas that are impossible, but at the same time trying to realize them on a technically realistic looking way. So I mean, that's the technical difficulty of it. But then of course you also have the difficulties of, for example, not having so many jobs in the beginning and all of this as well. And I mean, starting out, I was pretty much doing what I could. I was helping other photographers with retouching and until I started earning a little bit more money, and I reinvested that in equipment, and then tried to I started slowly getting jobs and stuff. So there's no like one defining moment that I guess that I became like successful or anything. It's just a very slow. I mean, slow.
It was a slow evolution.
Yeah, I think it's just about being like really dedicated and really loving what you do, and just putting like all your time and energy into it, and all of your passion into it. And I think when you really put passion into something, I think it also shows in the work.
Everybody should listen to that passion. Passion is
Yeah.
one of the key factors in the world of art. So did you have, I mean, let's say, did you ever disappointed when you started? I mean, when people rejected you? Did you
Yeah,
ever,
I mean,
did you ever thought that I have to quit? So this is not, I'm not sure. So if people wants to reject me, I'm not. So did you ever thought about that?
yeah, I mean, like, just, I mean, today it happens as well that I get questions about, I mean, you have work requests and then you hope that you will get it and you don't get it because someone else gets it. And it's always been like this, of course. And I think it's just, I mean, in the beginning I was quite disappointed and I felt like I had to, I mean, like, should I even be doing this if you have like several rejections in a row? But I think it's just try to push through it and just keep on working and doing things. I mean, it's hard to give a better, I think, advice than that.
Erik,
And,
you know what? So people always, I mean, the younger photographer, I mean,
yeah,
graphic designer, artists, everybody who's involved in this business. So they are, I mean, they're a little concerned that if they cannot make money, so
yeah.
if we cannot make money, how we can move forward? I mean,
Mm.
so I have lots of questions about this type of stuff. So I'm going to ask you directly about that. But if you want to give them a piece of advice, artists should do you recommend a side job at the start? Or you don't, you say, oh no, you have to focus on that. I mean, put all of your
I think
effort.
it's definitely, yeah. I mean, I think it's good to have. I mean, you have to be rational as well. And like for me, my side job, doing this while I was studying in Sweden, you get a little bit of support from the government for studying. So you get. I mean, it's not a lot of money, but you can survive on it at least. And if I wouldn't have that, I would have a.
But you should know that no one. You should know that no one's get that support. Maybe there are lots of countries that
I
don't
know.
have.
But what I mean is that, I mean, also in the beginning when I started out, I mean, while I was doing this, I was working extra also sometimes, but I always tried to find a little bit of time of working on my projects, even if it was just a couple of hours every week or just, I mean, any time that I could find, like 30 minutes every day or something like this. And I think working a lot in the beginning, I mean, I didn't do it because I thought maybe I can make it into a living or like I can make money on this. I did it because I was really interested in it and it was a creative outlet and I liked the techniques and by doing a lot of personal work I also learned by trying and I think learning by trying and doing personal projects, you build up a portfolio that you can kind of choose the direction of, because when you do personal work no one is telling you what you should do. You just build up your own work, and that's a good way to control where you want to take your photography or where you want to take your art or anything you do. And that's something I still consider important today. That, I mean, a lot of photographers, when they start to get more and more jobs, they have less and less time for personal projects. But I find it very important to still take time to try to do the personal work, because it's always been important to me, and I think it should be more important to more people as well.
That's yeah. The personal work always puts you in the front line. These are my pictures. These are mine. These are the way I'm thinking. These are my concepts. So I agree on that. So because when you're doing the commercial work, so definitely the client plays a very important role to move the projects on the direction that they want to show to people. So definitely.
Yeah.
But when you are doing your projects, so you are, especially when doing a photo montage, you are God. So you do whatever you
I
want
don't
to,
know.
yeah.
Like I just
you act as a God. So I want this, I want that. Okay, you change the moon and the lots of you change the moon, you change everything, right?
But but I think like what people don't realize is that it's like the planning and I mean the end picture, the final product will not become better than the material you have to work with, and the material will not get better than how well you plan it. So like in the end, it really comes down to planning, like finding locations. How can I get as close to this in reality? What can I shoot? What props can I use? And what things do I mean, because you don't have to shoot everything on location. Maybe some things doesn't even make sense because you can't tell a difference. So in the end, it always comes back a lot to me about trying to think about how can I make it look realistic, and trying to do that problem solving part of it. And I think
So
the
you know what,
engineering
Eric?
studies helped me in this somehow.
Okay, so you know what? So I always tell people that when an image is in your mind, it doesn't matter that if you create it, stage it, do it on a studio, take it as a documentary shot. So at the end of the day, it's your picture. So that's why I'm telling that this argue with people, this argument, this conversation with people is such a nonsense conversation that they say, oh, he's doing this stuff with Photoshop. Oh my God, oh, he used Photoshop. So that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's ridiculous. So I think that people should know that the final image is your art. It doesn't matter what type of equipments that you used. Did you use the natural light, studio light, as you mentioned? It's very important to look realistic, and this is my art world. So, Eric, one question I had. So, I think about it. So, how did you start learning Photoshop? How did you mastering your skills in Photoshop? And now, because when people look at your photos, when people look at your photographs, a personal project or they are commissioned. Okay, so they see that it's almost impossible to achieve that result. I'm not saying impossible, it's so hard. So how did you evolve as a Photoshop expert?
Yeah, it's the tools that I use in Photoshop has always been and still is quite, basic, but it's more about mastering those specific tools, I would say. And the way I build, I always try to work in a very non-destructive way, really build it up with and keep all the different layers. If I need to merge something into something, I'd rather create a smart object of it. And I guess, the way this is the way I started. I started thinking about Photoshop as, okay, it's basically like you have a piece of paper and like you have photographs and you have a scissor. And this is basically the way I treated Photoshop as well. If you would cut things out, real physical photographs, you would put the sky in the back and then you would build it up forward. And this is the way that I have treated Photoshop as well. So I pretty much started by just experimenting and seeing, can I do the same way? Just seeing what tools can I use to cut things out. And of course, I learned also from YouTube tutorials and stuff like this, but it was mainly that I just searched for when there was something specific I needed to learn a little bit. But otherwise, it was pretty much, okay. I remember the first time I opened... Sorry.
No, go, keep moving. I'm sorry.
No, it's just like the first time I opened Photoshop, I pretty much just opened an image and then I went through all the different menus just to see what things did. And yeah.
Got it.
And I think Photoshop is a program that you can use, that you can learn by testing a lot also to see what works and what doesn't.
Okay, that's one very specific question, which is very important, and I had it on my when people ask me, I ask them to ask me the questions, so to send me their questions. How do you compare the using of your natural light and your studio light? You know what? Our topic is creative process today. So when you want to start to thinking, so do you know that? Can you give us a little perspective on your planning? Scouting, because people don't know how scouting is important to make a very powerful photograph. So if you give us example of your creative process, so I think that's going to be very helpful to the photographers, young photographers, anyone who is interested. I don't know. So
yeah, it's pretty much divided into 3 different steps, and it always starts with the planning. And first I do a sketch of something. I come up with an idea, and the ideas are usually from just thinking about. Quite often it can be just unexpected combinations about things that I see all around me all the time. And an idea is usually not born in an instant. It's more about a long process. I think about small little things that maybe are interesting together. Then I leave it for a while. I try to come back to it, and I try to figure out how can I tell a story with this and what makes the image interesting. And I mean, once I have the idea ready, like a sketch, I mean, now it will be like a little bit sped up here, I guess. But then I try to look for the locations. I start maybe on Google Street View or like just searching for locations. If I need a waterfall, I Google waterfalls, Europe maybe, or Czech Republic, or anywhere where it's close to me. And then I pretty much go there, see what it looks like, determine where the sun will be at certain times throughout the day. And when everything is planned, I pretty much just go and photograph it. It usually takes a day, and then I have hopefully good material, and then I put it together in the computer in Photoshop, and that also takes, I mean, it can take anything from a week to several months, but efficiently it doesn't take more than a couple of days because I work with it, leave it, and come back to it. And when it comes to light, I always try to think of light as, sorry.
No, keep moving.
Yeah, I mean, because we mentioned light as well, and I think what I think about light is like, I mean, I like the look of natural light, but you can create this with studio lights as well. I mean, a flash is pretty much just a light, or like basically you can see it as a sun that is on for a very short amount of time, but that's enough for a photograph. But what I think about with light is that I want it to have a purpose. I want the light to come from somewhere. Why is it there? Why is the model lit in this way? And that is something that I really try to think about a lot in my work, and that gives this specific feel of the light in the images, I think.
That's quite interesting. So do you travel a lot?
I used to. Not right now.
Wow. Definitely.
Yeah, no, but I mean, I do travel a lot for like both for inspiration and like going to locations. It doesn't always have to be far away. It can be a car drive somewhere, just exploring the nature around Prague, for example. But also, lately I've been starting to traveling more for exhibitions and commission projects sometimes as well. But I like to be at home. I like to go to my studio. I like to work there, and yeah. But traveling is good for inspiration as well. So.
Oh, that's so, because I have a very serious questions that at the end of the our conversation, I'm going to ask about the importance of presentation, getting works, commission works, how to make money. So these are the type of stuff that I'm definitely going to ask you in 10 or 15 minutes. But let's go to another question, which I think people might think about it. So there's always this, and it's interesting because when they hear from you, from a person who is a high-end photographer using softwares, the latest cameras, I mean the high-end cameras, and using the high-end lighting equipments. So how much do you think they are important for you, Erik? I mean, your tools. So if I know you have different type of Hasselblad, I mean, not 10 Hasselblads,
yeah.
One Hasselblad, yeah. And different lenses, your equipment is Profoto, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
Sweden, that's the
yeah.
homemade products. So people might say, oh, these are his type of equipment, so we cannot do that, have this type of equipment. So what do you want to tell them?
First of all, is Hasselblad watching? Can we see?
Oh yes, I don't know. I'm not
no,
sure.
But yeah. No, I think it's really
about, Erik. It's not about the Hasselblad.
I know. I'm just kidding. It was a joke.
Yeah.
No, I think it's definitely. I mean, of course, it's not about the equipment. I mean, of course, a good camera can capture more detailed images. But I mean, the image is not about the number of pixels. It's not about that. It's mainly about the idea. That's the most important part of it. I mean, I like to print big prints for exhibitions, and then it helps to have a very high resolution, good camera. But it doesn't make the image better just because it's bigger. So I think I mean, I started out with the Canon EOS 400D, simple, just I mean, starting camera, and I used this for several years in the beginning, and this guy pulling the road behind him, which is one of my most known works still. It's created with a Canon 40D, not even full frame camera. So, and it doesn't make the image less or better just because of this. So I think, I mean, it's important that to focus on the ideas and not get caught up with equipment. I don't know what else to say about that. I mean, I'm a tech geek and I like technology as well, and it interests me, but it's not what should be it doesn't
right.
make the image.
You are completely right, because they are very important, which is I live in tools, but the point is why we are using those. That's the point. I think that people should consider why they want to invest on such heavy and expensive cameras, lighting systems. So it should be logical. So that's right. So definitely the quality, the print size, they're all important to you as a photographer. So if you want to add something, please do.
I think it's also this becomes a bit technical maybe, but the central shutter that the Hasselblad has, since the shutter is in the lens also, it allows me to sync the flash on any shutter speed. And for me, this is actually a very important feature as well, because it enables me to mix flashes with the ambient light, with the existing light, and shoot in daylight with flashes as well a lot. And this is something I use quite a lot. So
this is a very interesting Hasselblad. Where are you? So you're talking about Hasselblads.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't mean to sell this, but it was just a reason I'm shooting.
Feature. Yes.
Yeah.
So, and that's quite interesting. So, Erik, one question. So, because we passed 30 minutes, so we have only one more 30 minutes. So I just want to ask all the questions that people send me. Do you have a favorite director or movie that he or she always inspire you?
Oh, I mean, I like a lot of I watch a lot of movies and films and stuff, and it's hard to pick one, I guess. I mean, I like the style of Wes Anderson, for example, because I mean it's just so very specific and playful. There's a Swedish director called Roy Andersson, which I really like, but it's like the opposite of Wes Anderson looking movies, but they are also very absurd and beautiful in their own way, but in a more like depressing way, I guess. So maybe those are my favorites in a way.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. So what
I can think of now.
Favorite movie?
My favorite movie. That's a tricky one.
Top three.
Top three. Well. What can I say?
I put you in the spot.
Yeah, you really put me in the spot here, didn't you? I mean, I like a big fan of Amélie, because it's just like beautiful movie somehow. I like, I mean, Inception for the concept of like dreams and everything is something that I think about a lot myself with dreams, I guess.
That's my first choice.
Yeah. And other than that, I mean, I can really enjoy like fantasy movies and like movies where you really feel like you're traveling to another place, I guess, naturally, because that's kind of what I do with my images as well in a way. So I mean, like any fantasy, Lord of the Rings or this kind of stuff, or Game of Thrones, although it's not a movie, that's something I enjoy as well.
That's great. So Erik, let's the younger photographers. So we just talked about a little bit, I mean, in the past 15 minutes, but I wanted you for more details. So how do you make it? I mean, if you want to give suggestions, please do. If you want to some examples and stories, please tell us. So how do you make a living with photography? I mean, in terms of selling your photos, in terms of making connections, in terms of having a good and updated website. So give us a package from your experiences. So what is your advices? What is your way of thinking to be active in the market? So because most of the time, I mean, so the business side of photography it sometimes is much more important than the photography itself. So
Yeah,
I
that's a
mean,
good
the
point.
people they don't think about this type of um, marketing strategies. So
Mm.
so what do you have for us?
Yeah, I think it's,
I
for
know.
me, it's always been
Let me
about,
say. Let me say this. I know it's hard. I know it's hard to explain all the
yeah.
because you're doing this for 20 years. So and you make connections. Definitely, I know that. But if you want to give a
Mm.
perspective to the younger photographers, so
Mm. I mean, I think it's somehow, for me, it's been, I guess, that to not put all the eggs in the same basket somehow, and just try to like do a little bit different things just to explore, because you don't always know exactly what you want to do maybe. And I mean, when you find what you want to do, try to focus more on that. I mean, it becomes a bit abstract, I guess, but I mean, I didn't know if I wanted to be a commercial photographer or like work on my personal work, and I tried to do both, and I kept doing that. I think what's important in the beginning is just to, I mean, there are really no shortcuts to be good at something, and I think it's a lot about putting the time into it. And whether you're having like extra jobs and doing it on the nights or something, that's one way to do it, or just trying to like spend a lot of time with doing what you want to be good at. I think it's important, and also learning by trying. Like, I mean, it's a good thing to go to art school or photography school, I think, because you can learn how things are supposed to be, and learn the tools and everything. But I think in the end of the day, you really have to put in the effort yourself. Also, you have to really like learn the limitations by trying. And I think that's really important. I think, I mean, it's hard to like, I mean, it's good to find your own style, but how do you do that? I think the best way to do that is try to think, just look around you. What do you have maybe that not is accessible to everyone else? For me, it became the Swedish landscapes, for example. I mean, of course, it's accessible to everyone living in Sweden, but not outside of Sweden. So that's why I started shooting a lot, just the environments around me. In the beginning, I didn't use, I mean, and still today, I didn't use like professional models much for the personal work. 90% of the time, it's people I know, acquaintances, or someone I know about in some way. And I think this, I mean, try to keep the costs down in the beginning, and just focus on creating. And I did a lot of like
so
self-build homemade props and stuff also, and that's something I still do today as well.
that's a good point that you can ask your family to be part of your projects. I mean, your cousins, your
And
friends.
no one knows.
So yeah, you don't need to
Yeah.
spend that type of money to hire, I mean, professional actors and talents, and
Yeah.
so people should consider that. So one other thing. So let me be more specific,
Yeah.
if okay. Okay. So how people find you, or how buy your photo? Because people ask me, okay, so there's some prices on Erik's website. So how they're going to, I mean, they're sold out, and people, how do you marketing yourself? So, or you can tell me
Mm.
that how long does it take for you from the beginning of your career till now? How
Mm.
you evolve? How does it change?
Yeah, I think, I mean, basically, I started doing this 20 years ago a little bit, but I've only done it for about 10 years professionally. And I guess selling prints and all of this is something I started doing just a couple of years ago. And before that, to me, I mean, the online community, putting my work online has always been my platform, like where I put stuff. And I guess, I mean, my Instagram, as soon as I publish a new photo, the first place I put it on is Instagram and Facebook and all the social media. And I guess just always also, I mean, what I always found interesting with other photographers is how do they do it. And I thought maybe people also want to know how I do it, and that's why I always try to also like show a bit of like the process behind doing behind the scenes videos.
Yes, yes.
Not always showing everything, because maybe you don't want to
It gives
reveal
the idea.
everything somehow, but I think like this has been something that has interested people, and that has built some kind of audience. And I guess slowly I've been, as more and more people like my work, I guess I've been able to see that people email me and ask, can I buy a print? And then I realize, okay, maybe I should start selling prints. So it's just a slow process like that. But I think, I mean, thinking about what can be, but I mean, it's a balance between what do you want to do? Like, what is important
Yeah,
to you?
I
What
know.
interests you? but the balance between that and also find like, why do people want to see this also? Like, so it's about this balance somehow.
So I'm smiling because I know how hard it is to explain all this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I have
so
no
hard
idea.
because it's a way of it's you cannot put 20 years of experience in just 2 minutes and tell people, okay,
No.
these are the things that, so this is not math. So 2 + 4. So it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
So sometimes 2 + 2 is equals 6, sometimes 5.5. So it's different in different positions, different negotiations. So, and I know it's hard, but
I mean, I'm happy to answer more specific questions if anyone has a specific
of
question
course, sure.
about anything.
Definitely.
So that's I'm totally open.
Let me
I'm
ask
just
you this, Erik. So how did you come up with the prices?
This
So
was
you said you have, it's interesting because people ask me all the time. So you have, okay, the large size is 3 editions, the others are 10 editions. So this is the prices. And this amount of, I mean, money in, I mean, the different types of prices that you put on your photographs. So how did you come up with the idea?
Yeah, this took very long time. Like from the time that people start asking me about if they can buy my work, I saved that email and said I will get back to you when it's available. So and it took me maybe 2-3 years until I realized had decided, because there were so many factors. What's the size? How many sizes should I do? What's the edition? What's the price? And in the end, I mean, this was basically what I came up with based on talking to people in this field, like other people selling prints, other people, I mean, art, people with knowledge in art, I guess, and just trying to find a balance somehow. But what I ended up wanting to do, I mean, I could have sold stuff cheaper and sold more of them somehow, but I wanted to create something a bit exclusive. I wanted to create something that feels like there should not be so many of this, and it would also help me in a way that, like, when it's sold out, and then I can put it behind me as well. So that was somehow, I just wanted to do small editions, not too cheap, but somehow, yeah.
So
I don't know. Like I didn't have a specific way. Yeah.
So you wanted to have them very exclusive for your customers and clients.
If I would want to have it really, really exclusive, I guess I should sell just one print, and on the back of the print there should be the USB stick with the original file. That would be the most exclusive way of doing it. But but I wanted to do something kind of like semi-exclusive.
Anyway, three editions of a photograph is exclusive one. So 3 editions.
Yeah.
With the high price. So which I encourage people to go and watch your fine art print section on your website, so they can understand how did you sort your pricing system, the way of your edition. So it's, I mean,
this is just how I have done it.
Yeah, it's a very great reference. You even inspired me to that in this way. So why not?
I think the thing is, if I would sell it for less money, I guess maybe I would sell more of it, but then it would also be more work of printing and signing and everything, and that would take time away from the creative work as well, and that's what I find important to do. Like, so that's also part of the reason why I wanted to make it a bit more exclusive, because I don't want to just ship and roll prints all day long. It's
Erik, do you have an agent?
I have an agent for commercial products that's based in Stockholm, and she represents me worldwide. So she takes care usually of when we get a work request, she does the estimate and some kind of like calculation.
So everybody who wants to do everybody who wants to do, I'm sorry. So everybody who wants to do the commercial work should call your agent. So I'm just want to mention I mean, the role of an agent to promote a photographer into the commission world. I mean, advertising world.
That's I mean, the agent is basically, it can find jobs for you, but these days with internet, I would say that usually, for me at least, most jobs come that people have seen my work somewhere online, and then they go to my website, and then they have to contact my agent for the commission work. But for me, it's still good to have an agent, because I think it's they take percentage on the jobs that actually go through. So they don't cost anything when you don't use them pretty much. So that's how it works for me, at least. But for me, I think it's good because that would be another thing that I don't enjoy so much, doing the estimates, and I don't really know so well how to do it. So then it's good that someone does that for you. I think somehow.
And can you give us some information about your new book? So I have your first edition book, but the second I didn't have a chance to have it. But yeah, you published your second book. So
yeah, I have a new book out that came out in the end of the year. Actually, it's called Places Beyond. I think maybe I have a copy here.
Sure. Please feel free. Yeah.
It looks like this. So like selling this a bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
so
good.
yeah, it's my second book, and it contains pretty much my best of images that I've done over the past 10 years, pretty much, I guess, in a way, in a little collected package.
How many images did you put in your book?
It contains around I think 60 images, and it's not everything I've done over the 10 years, but it's more or less the things that I feel proud enough about having in a book, I guess.
So all of them are personal?
It's all personal work, yes. And I will keep, I only produce around six to eight new personal products every year, but I hope I can keep this up and keep doing the personal work, because I still feel like that's the most creative, and that's still what people enjoy seeing the most. So I hope I can keep doing that.
So what was the longest project you created, Erik?
The longest? There's a lot of long projects. I mean, usually it's hard to say. Even, I mean, when I come up with an idea, and that if that's like the definition of when you start with a product, then it can be several years before I actually realize it or finish it. I have products that I have. Today I was working on a product that I've had just like lying there in some folder for 2 years now. And I just came back to it because I want to see it with fresh eyes, and I will restart doing it. So I think, I mean, some projects can really take years, but normally the process is a couple of months, I would say, to come up with idea, finding the place, and then shooting everything and putting it together.
Erik, let's get into some questions of people. So they ask some questions. So, and I think you answered it, but let's say, do you have? Let me close my. What happened? Okay. So I think we talked about them. Let's say, let me find, because I wrote them but I want to.
No worries.
Yeah. Who is your favorite photographer? Do you have any photographer?
Oh, it's really hard. I mean, like. It pretty much changes all the time, I guess. I don't know. I can't say I have a favorite. I don't really have one favorite photographer. It would be hard to say here. I think traditionally I like concept photography, I guess, in general, and I like also old photography in general, like documentary photography, and I think that's very inspirational to me also,
Erik,
because
Erik, you should give us
makes
a name.
me. Yeah.
Okay, two photographers.
Two photographers. I can, for me, it's much easier to name painters, I would say, because that's what inspires me the most, I think. And that also reflects my process more.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
I think it's, I mean, to me, it's more like artists such as, I mean, Magritte or Escher or Dali, for example, Rob Gonsalves, and artists such as these ones.
I just want to mention that the Magritte, I would say. Yeah, so,
yeah.
Okay. So, Erik, how do you, what do you think about the future of photography? I mean, in 10 years, do you think some photography jobs eliminated?
I think that it might be harder because there will be more photographers, but I think that there will always be a need for photographers. Both that documenting reality and the world around us is very important. It's something that I don't do specifically, but I think that's something that always will be important. But I think also storytelling is something that has been important always and will always be important, I think. And the way that one single image can tell a story, I think that's something that you don't get that with video or like with something moving, but one single frame can ask a lot of questions because you don't really know. I mean, it naturally asks you, how did it become like this and what happens after? And this, that you just capture something that is just one single moment, it's something that I think is very interesting and poetic in a way. And I think that's something that will always be a need for this.
Let me go with the other one. So do you have any boundaries on manipulating your photos? Do you have any borders or boundaries on your manipulation?
Yeah, I mean, I do. Partly that I want it to look realistic, first of all. So I try to keep this in mind when I do the decisions of how to combine or manipulate the photographs. But also that I want to use only photographs that I have photographed myself. And I want to try to focus on shooting environments in Northern Europe or around the area where I live, because it also creates a certain style, a consistency in the style that I want to try to do, because the ideas are always very different, going in different directions, but by keeping the same environments, it kind of creates something that makes them hold together, I think.
Erik, people ask this very specific. We talked about it, but it's very, I don't know. Do you like to call yourself a photographer, or how did you evolve? I mean, you talked about it, but I mean, how did you think? Are you a surreal photographer? Do you like labels? I mean, fine art photographer, surreal photographer.
Yeah, it's tricky with labels, I think. It does say, if you go to my website, it does say surreal photographer. So I guess I do call myself a surreal photographer. And I mean, it comes back to like the surrealism and the surreal movement in painting is something that was very inspiring to me. And that's what I'm trying to achieve a bit with photography. So I guess in a way, surreal photography is something it's a title that I think describes this quite well. But otherwise, I guess I'm a visual artist doing images with a surreal touch, or like
so
surreal style, I guess.
If somebody asked me that, if you want to define Erik, so I'm saying he's an artist. So he's an artist that's showing every concept that he have. I mean, he has mind and his concerns into his photo. That's it. The photography is a great platform for Erik to tell the story. I mean, yes. Sometimes we have to put the labels, because I'm the type of guy and photographer who doesn't believe in labels. But sometimes, if you want to tell people what type of photography you do, I mean,
I know,
or what type of photography you are master at. So you say, yes, I'm a fine art photographer. I'm a architectural photographer. No, I'm a documentary. Yes. In some specific projects, definitely we need. And we have to use those labels, which I believe, but in general, yes, it doesn't matter. So
what label would you use for yourself?
That's a question that always run from it. I don't want to answer that, but when people ask me, okay, what type of photography you do? So I say, I was just strolling on the streets. No, I'm kidding. Because streets, it's interesting, Erik. So streets are my studio. I mean, this is the big and huge studio that gives me the opportunity to capture any concept and form. But like the way you think, I'm doing it as well. So much scouting, sketching, thinking about the project, how I can find this light. So thinking about the people, how they get, and sometimes I tell people that my photographs, most of them youth stage, but they are not, because they are the result of patience and control. Sometimes I have to wait for an hour or 2 hours to just get one picture. So I'm not thinking, but I'm not against, because as when we talked, so when I started, I was doing lots of photo montage, and when I was in Iran, But now I'm working on a different path. But I'm still, if I need Photoshop, I tell people that I'm going to use it. So it's not important for me. I don't want to show these pictures in a court. So they are not, so they are not the pictures that we want to reveal truth of something. And like the photographers, I mean, documentary photographers. So if I need to remove, if I need to change a light, so if I need to bring a flash studio with the streets, definitely I'm going to do it. It's not a problem. It's not a big deal. So this is because this is the story that I want to tell in this form. So every tool that I need, I'm going to use it. So that's the whole. I mean, that's
it
the whole
comes
story.
Back to the stories.
Yes.
That's what photography is about.
That's the big, that's the point. So we have only 10 minutes, so I'm going to ask more questions, and you give us some fast answers.
Sure.
So,
yeah.
How do you think AI have an impact on photography? I mean, artificial intelligence.
Oh, that should be a short question. I think it's. I mean, I think technology is always something that we can use to our benefit in different ways. So I think we should embrace it, but we should also be cautious with AI because for other reasons. But within photography, I'm not sure. Like everything I've seen in Photoshop, at least with some kind of content-aware stuff, it looks good at first. It's a nice show-off thing, but it doesn't really work so well when you go in close. So I think there would always be a need for human decision makings at some point somewhere. So. But maybe AI can help in different ways, but I don't know exactly how.
Great. So, can you see this question on your page?
Yes. Erik, how many years did it take? Did you work to become a professional? And yeah, so basically the first 10 years. So if I've been doing this for.
Just lost the Erik. So
Waiting for Erik to join.
I'm back.
What happened?
I don't know. It became black. It all disappeared.
Yes, what happened?
Sure.
So it was a very tricky question. So it blew up.
I didn't want to answer.
That's interesting. So what was the question? So how do you, I mean, we talk about it. So
yeah, the question was how many years did it take me to become a professional photographer? And and I mean I guess it was just it was a slow process. It's hard to define a specific moment. If I've been doing this for 20 years now, it's pretty much the first 10 years I did it for fun or like experimenting. And then I started to try to become serious, I guess, 10 years ago. And it took me maybe, I mean, 3-4 years until I started getting some jobs. And then to be able to live of it took a couple of years more, I guess. Yeah.
Yes. So I have to mention, I mean, definitely this is a challenge, Erik. Honestly, this is a challenge for young photographers who wants to be in the business.
Yeah.
Especially these days that making money, supporting themselves as an independent or freelance photographer. So it's a real challenge, honestly. I mean, they should put lots of efforts to get into the business, get into the market. It takes time for them to show their styles, the way of thinking. And it takes time for people who trust them, because there are lots of great and hard work artists around the world that every day, if I always tell people, look at Behance website, look at the other websites. People just keep producing and producing, and they're working and working all the time. So, Erik, do you believe in luck?
What luck? What is this?
I mean,
oh,
do you
luck.
believe?
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Do you consider? Yeah, do you believe in luck?
I think
because all the time I say make your own chances.
I mean, of course, it's. I think the reason that I have, for example, become successful, I think it's a combination of being at the right time at the right place. Not so many people doing this kind of surreal art at that time, and so being a little bit lucky, but also like working hard. I mean, you can't just survive on luck. But I mean, it's hard to recommend luck. I mean, you can't just tell people to buy lottery tickets. I mean, that's a weird. Just spend all your money buying lottery tickets.
That's interesting. Even that's interesting, Erik. You mentioned that. Even if you want to win a lottery, you have to buy a ticket.
Yeah, you do. But not.
You know what
you shouldn't use the whole salary.
Yes, you know what I mean. So even if you want to win a lottery, like I don't know, $200 million, I don't know. So you have to go to a store and pay $2 to buy that ticket and make your own chance to be a winner.
Yeah.
So that's the mindset. Yeah. That's the mindset for the people, that they should think they need to work. They need to show. All the time I tell people, even if you have the ideas that you think they're crap, they're total crap, make them. Because then you feel empty and you want to create more and more and more. And that's interesting, because so sometimes they say, okay, this idea is not good, or you don't know.
Exactly.
Don't know.
I think this is super important. I mean, I think for me, it's always been like the hardest part of the process is to get started, and getting started is super important in order to become better, or like to try. I mean, like, because sometimes I just find myself that I'm like waiting for like, okay, maybe I want to wait for that perfect place, or like maybe I can improve the product. But sometimes you just have to start, and I mean, the worst that can happen is that you fail, and then at least you learn something from the failure, and then you move on and you take that information with you to the next product. So I think it's important also to keep moving and not wait too long sometimes.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So we have a little. So can we have a little? We don't have. We only have 2 minutes. But we restarted it, so we can talk.
Yeah, we can go on. I'm fine. Yeah, totally.
Okay, if you're fine, that's okay. So, Erik, so there's a question which asked from 3 or 4 people. Do you like stage photography? I mean, or do you have any? The stage photography? So definitely. So, and how do you make a line between your projects and theirs?
Like stage photography in the way that it's staged, or
yeah, it's in a way that, like, imagine like Gary Knudsen, like, I mean, the direct that you act as a director, you put all the things on the scene.
Oh, I get it. Yeah. I mean, sometimes that's what it takes sometimes for some ideas to have more people involved and to create something. But for me, I always prefer, I guess, that it should feel natural and simple. And usually the way to achieve that is also to shoot it in a natural and simple way. I usually don't use a bunch of flashes. I use one flash, maybe. I don't use a bunch of models. Maybe I use 1 or 2 models maximum. And one assistant, maybe. But maybe I can carry the stuff myself if it's not too complicated. So, I like to keep it simple usually. So in that sense, I think making an image look simple is also, you can shoot it simple.
Okay, Erik, one other question. People ask that who or how, and I don't know. I didn't ask you this question before, and which is interesting for me to know that. But I think I already know the answer. Who make your videos and behind the scenes?
I do this myself.
Yeah,
it's an experiment for me. I play around. It's a way for me to kind of challenge myself and see what I can do. It's sometimes a bit silly with all the transitions and things, but to me it's just a funny way to play around, and it shows the playfulness of the process. That's what it's supposed to do.
So, okay.
Did we lose each other again? I don't know. Now I see you. I don't hear you. Should I reconnect again? To wait a minute. I can write. Maybe I need to buy a new phone.
Oh,
I don't know.
no, that's okay. I don't know. It seems that there's a little, I think there's a little on
Oh, I
the
see.
question section. I'm not sure. Every time I click on the question sections to pop up, so it goes to the it interrupt our connection.
I see.
So I'm not going to use that question section again. I'm gonna
Great.
ask everything that comes that I have here and I have here. So
Yeah.
that's the point. So Erik, there's a very specific question about the way, I mean, if I'm not sure if you want to answer it with the details, but people asked me and I'm going to share it with you. If you feel comfortable, you can tell what, so it's up to you. So when people, I mean, when they saw your behind the scenes and making a project, they asked me that they think that you're alone all the time. You don't believe in assistance, or so you are. At least it seems like this, that you do all the stuff by yourselves. Do you think is this the way of your being as an artist? I mean, this is you. This is the essence of your projects, or you consider that okay, people don't understand me. I don't want to work with them. No. These are the questions that people ask.
I understand. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, if you want to open up about it, so.
Yeah, it's a very interesting question, actually. It's not necessarily that I have decided to do it like this, that I want to be doing everything alone. I think it's more that when I started out, I had a clear idea of what it was that I wanted to create, and then it was easier for me to just do all of it myself. But I think today it's become part of my style and the way I create. I think I mean, for example, I couldn't let someone else do the retouching because the retouching is still an important part of the process. Sometimes I discover things that I maybe didn't think about when I photographed it, that it will actually work, that I didn't think about. And I mean, planning, I have to do it myself. I mean, I do have help sometimes. If I need a specific location, I can ask a location scout or someone that can help me, and assistants and people like this, definitely. But I guess I am a bit of a lonely wolf, or how do you call it?
No.
I enjoy working. I enjoy working alone in my studio late at night, for example. It's something that I find good. But then I have friends and I meet people also.
Of course.
Sometimes.
Of course. So I think I asked most of the questions, and I don't want to take your time too. But there's one other thing that I'm talking about on Iranians, on behalf of Iranians, because they keep asking me that if you have any plan to travel to Iran. I told them I'm going to promise you that one day I will bring Erik with me in Iran, and we are going to do an artist talk and for the Iranian audiences. So I want to get a promise on that right now, right?
I would definitely want to go. We can say that right here and now. We don't know exactly when, but I would really like to go. I heard a lot of good things about Iran, that it's supposed to be really beautiful, and I've seen pictures. And although I mostly shoot in Northern Europe, I mean, it would be very interesting to see something completely different and shoot that as well.
I promised them. So I promised them that, okay, I'm going to do this. So no worries about that.
I would want to, but I will go with you. And you show me around.
Sure, definitely. It's a pleasure for me. I will be. And so if Erik, is there anything else that you want to add, a piece of advice, anything it's going to be helpful to the other photographers?
I mean, just never stop creating. Just don't be afraid of failure, and trying is the best way of learning. It's something that I think is just keep creating all the time, and don't be afraid of starting. I mean, you will always learn something. And don't compare yourself too much with others. Just focus on your own stuff. And I mean, it's easy to see all these people on Behance and like on Instagram and everywhere with a bunch of followers and doing great products. But I mean, we all start somewhere, and just take one step at a time and focus on your work instead of comparing yourself too much with others. I think that's important.
That was a
Yeah.
very, very good point. That was because when I don't know, with a person who's working for 30 years, 25 years, 20 years. So definitely the thoughts be much. I mean, it's going to be the highlight of our mind. So the negative thoughts. So, but as that, so if we go step by step, so as you said, everybody starts somewhere, something with the camera, and it's a very interesting fact that all of us should consider that. Erik, I just want to thank you so much for giving us your precious time. And,
yeah, thanks for having me. It was great talk, and let's do it again sometime.
Sure, definitely. We're going to do it again, and not when. I mean, it depends on your time, but I know that you're always open to new ideas, and definitely we will do it again with different topics, different forms. And I hope that everything goes back. I don't want to say goes back to normal, because it's not. It won't. It's gonna be a new normal. Yeah, it's
the new normal. We're waiting for it.
Yes, yes, and then we can see each other and make other pictures, other photographs. So I wish you nothing but health.
Sounds great.
Enjoy your time, and we'll be in touch soon.
Likewise, yeah. Stay safe.
Thank you.
And stay safe, everyone.
Bye-bye. You too. Stay safe.